I'd like to welcome everyone to the hearing today. The meeting is called to order at 9:38 a.m. Today's proceedings are being held as a hybrid meeting by way of an in-person attendance and teleconference to hear minor variance application PLMV 2024-034. The Committee of Adjustment is appointed by Council to consider applications for minor variance to the zoning bylaw pursuant to Section 45 of the Planning Act. Pursuant to Section 45(1) of the Planning Act, a minor variance may be granted provided it meets the four tests, namely that the variance meets the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw, that it is minor in nature, and that it is desirable for the appropriate development or use of the land, building, or structure. The Planning Act requires that a public hearing be held before the Committee of Adjustment decides whether or not to approve the minor variance. The public hearing serves two purposes. First, to present the Committee of Adjustment and the public the details and background of the application, and second, to receive comments from the public and agencies before a decision is made. As part of a transparent public process, all submissions form part of the public record. Both the Secretary Treasurer and myself, as the chair of the committee for today, will be responsible to ensure that all parties and the committee members can hear one another during the hearing. For those attending by teleconference, if at any time you are having difficulties hearing what is being said, please say so or click the raise hand button or dial *9*9. We kindly ask that everyone speak slowly and clearly when addressing the committee. If you are of the opinion that holding the hearing as an electronic hearing is likely to cause significant prejudice, we ask that you advise this committee at the earliest opportunity and the matter can be addressed accordingly. Please be advised that any applicant or agent that is in the attendance at today's meeting for a specific application may leave the meeting once their application has been considered by the committee. An applicant, agent, or member of the public wishing to address the committee for a specific application is reminded that presentations may be limited to 10 minutes per person. If you are using a computer or electronic device, please ensure that your microphone is turned on and your audio settings are not muted. All parties will be verbally acknowledged before being asked to proceed. At this time, I'll ask that anyone who objects to an electronic hearing or a matter on today's agenda or is having difficulty hearing what is being said, please click the raise hand button or dial *9. I hear no objections. So we'll move on. Adoption of the agenda. The committee will first adopt the agenda. Would the Secretary Treasurer please read the resolution?
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I could just get a mover and a seconder for the approval. Moved by Paul Rodals and seconded by Jean Neville. Be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment hereby approve the agenda of the August 26, 2024 meeting as circulated.
All those in favor? That is carried. Declaration of pecuniary interest. Do any committee members have a pecuniary interest in the application being heard today? No one does. All right. There are minutes from previous meetings before the committee for adoption. Please, does anyone have any questions or amendments to these minutes? And that would include anything that was circulated by email prior to this meeting.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So anything previously circulated by email, we've taken note of already. So there was some typos. We can incorporate those. If there's anything new, however, that anybody has any comments on, we can discuss that.
The March 19th minutes, I was here twice. I believe you're left off.
Yes.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, we've taken note of that.
Is there anything else? All right. All right. Would the Secretary Treasurer please read the resolution?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So I'll just amend the resolution to say the meeting minutes as amended, as there will be some minor changes. It just needs some a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Paul Rodals and seconded by Henri Tall. Be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves the meeting minutes of the March 18th, March 19th, March 25th, March 27th, and June 24th, 2024 meetings as amended.
All those in favor?
Yes, sorry, May 27th. It does say that in the resolution. It's my first day back after vacation.
All right, all those in favor? That is carried. Very good. And now declare this to be a public hearing for application PLMV 2024-034 located in Part Lot 31, Concession 10, Geographic Township of Minden. Would the Secretary Treasurer please summarize the proposed variance and any correspondence received to date regarding the application?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So application PLMV 2024-034 was submitted by Highland Design, care of Ben DiCarlo, on behalf of the property owner, Stephen Reed. The property is located at 1105 Kuwaden Road on Sawyers Lake. The property is currently developed in the form of a cottage and accessory structures, and the construction on the property is currently in compliance with the zoning bylaw. There is a 120 square foot raised screen porch attached to the south side of the cottage, and the owners are proposing to remove that existing porch to be replaced with a 644 square foot sunroom. The southeast corner of the sunroom would encroach into the side yard. The subject property is zoned shoreline residential in the township zoning bylaw as amended. As submitted, the application is seeking the following relief from the township zoning bylaw, which is from section 5.2 to permit a reduced southern interior side yard setback of 3.2 meters or 10.5 feet for the southeast corner of a sunroom, whereas a setback of 4.5 meters or 15 feet is required for the SR zone. This application is subject to the 4 tests of a minor variance as outlined in the Planning Act, and those 4 tests are as follows. So the first is the application minor in nature. The proposed variance will permit a reduced southern interior side yard setback for the new sunroom. The sunroom would otherwise meet all other provisions of the SR zone. No vegetation removal would be required, and the majority of the development would continue to comply with the zoning bylaw. The offending area of the sunroom is only approximately 2 square meters. No adverse impacts are anticipated, and therefore the application and requested variance is considered minor in nature. The second test is the application desirable for the appropriate development or use of the land, building, or structure. The new sunroom would be consistent with the surrounding area development, where development is generated close to neighboring properties and will be constructed in a cleared area. And the application is therefore considered desirable for the appropriate development of the property. Test number 3, does the application uphold the general intent or purpose of the official plan? The property is designated waterfront on Schedule A of the township's official plan. Permitted uses in the waterfront designation do include recreation-based residential uses, which include a single detached dwelling and which can certainly form a sunroom as part of that. There are no anticipated impacts to the balance of the built form within the shoreline, particularly as the sunroom is going to be constructed away from the lake. And the application is therefore considered to uphold the general direction and purpose of the official plan. Test number 4, does the application uphold the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? So the subject property as discussed is zoned shoreline residential and permits, again, uses of single detached dwelling. As proposed, only about 21 square feet or 2 square meters of the corner of the proposed sunroom would actually encroach into the southern interior side yard. Aside from that, the rest of the development on the property would maintain all other development standards of the shoreline residential zone. There would be considered sufficient rooms to still maintain the lawn and the buildings as required with the deficiency. And further, the stairs facing the north end of the sunroom, the proposed sunroom, would not result in any privacy or trespass issues. The general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw is therefore considered to be upheld. Under the policies of the provincial policy statement, the subject property is considered part of the rural area, and this does again permit residential development that's locally appropriate and can be sustained by rural service levels. The application is not considered to conflict with the policies of the PPS. No comments on the application were received from agencies. We did receive comments from the neighboring property owner to the south of the subject property. The Committee of Adjustment has received a copy of that letter. The neighbor does not have any concerns. They further did provide some existing precedent being set in the area. Although I note that usually precedent is not considered a planning rationale per se, that because every property is different. Certainly something the property, the neighbor noted, and nonetheless, they do not have any issues with the variance being requested. Based on an assessment of the application as currently proposed, it does appear to meet the 4 tests of a minor variance and is consistent with the policies of the PPS. And therefore, it's recommended that application PLMV 2024-034 be approved subject to the conditions that were outlined in the report.
Thank you. Is the applicant or property owner here today or online?
I believe they are, yes.
They are online.
Yes, we are.
Would you like to speak?
I think everything was summarized very well. But we're happy to address any questions on the proposed sunroom.
Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak to this application? We'll start with anyone attending electronically. There's no one else. All right. And there's no one here in person. So are there any questions or comments from the committee to the applicants? No, we have no questions. Well, if there's no further questions, we'll jump to the next page. Having heard the evidence before, is the committee ready to make a decision? Seems to be. Would the Secretary Treasurer please read the resolution?
Apologies, Mr. Chair. I think first usually we go through the conditions.
I need to go through the conditions.
I can read the conditions.
Okay.
So they are the usual conditions. The first just being that this is for the proposed sunroom only. The second, that the construction will proceed essentially in accordance to the site plan they've submitted, except as anything that might need to be added for the site plan review process for the building permit. They will need to have the side yard setback staked by an Ontario land surveyor. Pardon me. The building permit will need to be applied for within 24 months. And then finally failing any part of that, the foregoing conditions or completion of the foregoing conditions, the application would be refused. So essentially the standard ones that we usually do ask for.
Are there any questions or comments from the committee regarding these conditions? All right. So hearing all the evidence before it, is the committee ready to make a decision? Yes.
Mr. Chair. Oh,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Jumped ahead again.
Normally, there's some discussion on applications. I appreciate that there weren't any questions in this case, but
Mhm.
our resolutions do usually include reasons why the committee is in either support or objection to an application. So I would just be looking for some input from the committee about support for the reasons why there is support for the application if we're moving forward in that direction.
Right, well, I'll start. The variance seems minor and still consistent with the plan, and so I would be supportive of that.
Also, the neighbors don't have a problem with it. I agree with that.
So the committee echoes those thoughts. Is that sufficient?
Yes, thank you. I'll just need 1 minute to update. Yep, write
Sure.
it up and then
Okay.
I'll read it out for
Just
everyone.
talk amongst yourselves. It's the only old. I'm blessed with my mother's hair.
Okay, so I've written in that the application is minor and would still uphold the official plan and that the neighbors have no concerns. So I'll just need a mover and a seconder for the resolution and then I can read it out in full. Moved by John Aggett, seconded by Honoree Tall, whereas the Committee of Adjustment considered the oral submissions relating to application PLMV 2024-034 Reed made at the hearing. And whereas it is the opinion of the committee that the relief granted maintains the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw, is appropriate and desirable for the area, and is minor in nature, and more specifically for the following reasons: that the application is minor and would still uphold the official plan, and that the neighbors have no concerns. Now therefore, it is the decision of the committee that application PLMV 2024-034 requesting relief from the requirements of bylaw 06-10 as amended to permit the following. From section 5.2 to permit a reduced southern interior side yard setback of 3 meters or 10.5 feet for a sunroom, whereas a setback of 4.5 meters is required for the shoreline residential zone. Subject to the following conditions: that approval of the minor variances shall only relate to the proposed sunroom, development of which shall comply with all other applicable law. The construction shall proceed substantially in accordance with the plan submitted by the township on July 2nd, 2024, put before the committee on August 26, 2024, and forming part of this decision, save and except for the inclusion of any additional information as may be required for site plan review. That the side yard setback be staked by an Ontario land surveyor prior to building permits being issued. That the building permit be applied for within 24 months of the approval of this application, following submission to the building department of the appropriate application, fees, and any supporting information as deemed to be required by the chief building official. And finally, that failing any part of the foregoing conditions, this application shall deem to be refused.
All right, thank you, Amanda. All those in favor? That is carried. Would the Secretary Treasurer please advise the applicant and the public of the next steps?
Through Mr. Chair. So the next steps will be that a notice of decision will be circulated. It does have a 20-day appeal period. During that time, anyone who is eligible for appeal can submit an appeal to the township should they have any objections. Otherwise, once the appeal period has ended, if there are no appeals, then the property owner is able to submit for their permits, subject to completion of the conditions that will be outlined in the notice of decision.
All right, thank you. I now declare this matter to be concluded. Is there any other business to discuss today? Doesn't appear to be. Amanda, when is the next meeting?
Through Mr. Chair, so there won't be a meeting in September. So providing we have applications to proceed, then the next meeting would be in October. And I apologize, I don't have my calendar in front of me. I forgot to bring my computer today, but it would be the last Monday of October.
Thank you for that. With that, then I think we can adjourn for the day. Would the Secretary Treasurer please read the resolution for adjournment?
I can get a mover and a seconder. Moved by Jean Neville, seconded by John Aggett. Be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment meeting be adjourned at 9:57 a.m. on August 26, 2024.
All those in favor? All right, that is carried. Concludes our business. So, just